You didn't come here looking for answers. You came here looking for permission. Today we're going to talk about Dark Phoenix. So you guys, I loved X-Men growing up. I mean, I still love X-Men. What they've done with X-Men with the movies, I'm not super pleased with. I'm not saying they're bad movies. I'm saying I don't think they did the X-Men universe justice. Especially if you look at what they did with the Avengers. I'm like, hello? It's okay. I'm not upset. I'm not interested in being a critic about this, but the movie Dark Phoenix, I was disappointed. I was looking for, and I figured, I went in like knowing I'm probably not going to experience what I would hope to experience from something like this. Growing up, when I watched the cartoon of the X-Men and the Dark Phoenix saga happened, I was like, this is crazy. It was so epic and intense. And then when you watch this movie, you're like, it's not the same. You know? And there are things that are missing from the story that you probably needed for it to have the gravity and the emotional turmoil that we probably should have experienced that I didn't experience. So I'm not trying to knock this movie. I'm not interested in critiquing it. I didn't love it. I didn't think it was great. But there were things in the film that I actually thought were noteworthy that I wanted to talk about. First of all, in the beginning of the film, we've got Charles Xavier and Jean Grey, who are both telepaths, right? They're both psychics. They can read people's minds, hear their thoughts, that kind of thing. And so for the first probably 20 minutes of interactions with the characters, you see both Charles and Jean reading people's minds or putting thoughts in people's minds, like right off the bat. And you're like, whoa. It's kind of implied that there's some moral ground being negotiated here. But it's kind of like also left off. You're like, wait, this is like kind of crazy. There should be a little more like, I don't know, restraint, I think, on the part of these two characters. And obviously I think that's already there. But it just kind of seemed like, oh, they're violating other people's wills and we're just going to move on with our lives and not make it an issue. I'm like, that's crazy. And anybody moving in that kind of influence, that kind of power, especially over the will of another or the choice of someone else, would not treat it lightly. And I think they've done a good job in the past demonstrating the kind of restraint that it takes to have something like that and have relationships with people. But to me, the first chunk of the movie, I was like, whoa, this feels really flippant and careless. And like, it just doesn't seem like a big deal. And like, this is a big deal. You know what I mean? You're like crossing the barrier into someone else's life, into their mind, their inner world, and grabbing things that don't belong to you. Like, that's crazy. Inappropriate, you know what I mean? And so I just wanted to blow the whistle and be like, hey, this is crazy, like that's not appropriate, not okay, right? Anyway, so that was like something that rubbed me the wrong way right away. I was like, weird. And then it was interesting, at one point later, actually this is toward the end of the movie, there's a monologue that Jean's character is making about destiny and the future and choices and that whole thing. And I actually had this epiphany. So this isn't necessarily in the film, but it definitely happened to me while I was watching this movie. We have this idea about the future. Like, God has plans for us, right? Which is true. He's got things he's set into motion and things he's doing and working out for us to, fulfill things that he purposed. And then we also have a choice in the matter, right? We have free will. We have things we get to say yes to or no to or whatever. And so are the things that God planned for us locked in and do they have to happen? Not necessarily. Does that mean those things won't happen? Like, it's possible they couldn't? Here's where I had some, epiphany in that conversation. The only thing that can stop what God purposed in your life from happening is you. Is us. We're the only thing that can stop it. And how can we stop it? God is love. He is favorably disposed towards us. He is vulnerable toward us, and he will not violate our wills. And so he has plans and purposes that are beautiful, that will be for our highest good, that will bring so much fulfillment and pleasure and impact and significance and success and all the things, but he's not going to force us to have those things. If we don't want that, if we don't want to go through what it's going to take to sustain something like that, he gives us a choice to say no and to opt out and not to let us sabotage ourselves, but because of his respect and value for us. It's a beautiful display of honor and value. And so Satan and other people, powers of darkness, events, the economy, natural disasters, any of those things cannot touch what God has purposed in your life. They literally cannot thwart those things, but you can. Another thing I wanted to address in this movie was there were several characters in their relationships that jumped to strong, intense conclusions about the other person that were accusatory without seeking first to understand, without giving the person a chance to represent themselves, without wanting to connect on where they're at as to why these things might have turned out the way they did. There's a lot of assumption, a lot of judgment, like accusation and condemnation against a person, judging their heart, assuming their intent without actually exploring it, and then coming at them with this anger and this punishment and this like sentence over them. And you see it happen a bunch. A lot of it happens to Charles, the leader, right? You see Beast do that to Charles. You see Raven do it. Jean does it a little bit. You see them just like kind of, but it happens throughout the whole thing. Like all the drama, all the relational dynamic that provides any kind of passion is coming from assumptive, accusatory conclusions about someone else. Not awesome. I understand like seeing people express themselves in extreme ways is really fun for us, but if we think that's how conflict should be managed or addressed, or if that's appropriate to practice, we are going to have deterioration in our lives, in our relationships. It's not appropriate to just jump to a conclusion about what somebody meant, what they're going after, what they're trying to accomplish, based on data points you think are backing up a belief. You want to first go to the source and ask questions, invite them to participate, see if there's anything else going on in the mix before you come to a conclusion about what is happening. The more we do this, the more opportunity we'll have to actually have connection with people, the more trust gets to be experienced in the exchange versus all the other things that we're throwing in there, and the less chaos and destruction that we experience in that place of intimacy with people. And a ton of the disconnect in the relationships of this movie came from this assumptive, accusatory place. Really sad. And at this point in my life, as I've learned to navigate these dynamics and find life in practicing healthy, respectful, honest, trustworthy exchanges with people versus the other things, what I saw on screen in this film looked barbaric and abusive. I'm like, this is crazy. And it wasn't being portrayed that way. It's just you're seeing this person upset. They're mad. And I'm like, okay, they're mad and now they're abusing this other person. They're mad and now they've got their club out and they're whacking him over the head like a barbarian. This is crazy. Like, we shouldn't be relating to each other this way. It's so underdeveloped and immature and primitive in its nature. It's like, this is crazy. And so I thought it was really interesting to see that displayed and get to like navigate those dynamics and watch what normal looks like here. You guys, when people make mistakes or do things you don't like, or even do something on purpose that hurt you, there's still room for asking questions and inviting and understanding to come participate in what you experienced. And as we choose to embrace that and we're moving toward people, the result tends to be building of intimacy and closeness and a mutual respect and understanding versus all the other painful, heavy things we have to carry and walk out life with, feeling dragged down, miserable, disconnected, anxiety-ridden, just trying to react to everyone's version of control in my relationship with them. What a nightmare. There's better for us than this. And it's not what they show in this movie. What a great example of what not to do. And remember, guys, when you're watching a movie, you're never alone. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell button. Did you guys watch Dark Phoenix? Did you like it? What'd you think? I know the movie value-wise is like, I don't know if this quite made it, but there's still some elements in it that I found enjoyable. What are your thoughts? Share them in the comments below.